DAMS Lucas Oil bring an experienced lineup to the grid in FIA Formula 2 for 2025 with two F1 juniors. They've got the Aston Martin junior in Jak Crawford and the Alpine Academy driver in Kush Maini. Good lineup for them coming into 2025, you have to say. Jak Crawford is going to be the highest returning seeded driver, and Kush Maini, who was a race winner last season as well. Well, for Jak Crawford, many will be tipping him as one of the favourites coming into this season, himself included. He's going to be coming into this season going for that championship title, and so he should be. He's got the experience now, he's got the winning capabilities behind him. Those drivers that were ahead of him are now gone from the championship, and for him it will be all eyes on the championship title. For Kush Maini, he's shown that he can go and take race wins, take podiums as well. He was a little bit of a dark horse at times last season, so it would be really interesting to see what Kush Maini brings to the table. Will there be a bit of a rivalry between himself and Jak Crawford, or will this produce a really exciting fight between those two, where they actually push each other forward and push each other up the grid and into a championship fight for DAMS Lucas Oil, and possibly to the team's championship for the DAMS team as well. Very, very excited for this. Excited to see how the two work together as a team, or if they work against each other. Well, that's the thoughts of myself. Let's hear from Feeder Series F2 editor Kalle Kokraski.
So DAMS is coming into this season with the most experienced lineup. They have two drivers who are in their third season of F2 in Jak Crawford and Kush Maini. I think last year they finished sixth in the championship, but like I've said earlier, they're one of the teams that I think could have finished a bit higher if there hadn't been a gap between their drivers, because Correa was consistently quite a bit ahead. Crawford was consistently quite a bit ahead of Correa on track, and that showed in the standings. So Crawford is staying with the same team going into next year, one of the kind of few cases that's happening. But they're replacing Correa with Maini, who also had a kind of large gap to his teammate. Maini was obviously 13th, and his teammate was Bortoleto, who won the title. So we'll see if Crawford and Maini are a bit closer, or if they'll have a similar situation to last year. I think even with the two really experienced drivers, that could be a bit of a worry going into the season. I think, like you said, Crawford is definitely a contender for the title because of his experience, but also because of the results he's shown on track. He was, in his first season of F2, he was 13th. In his second season of F2, he was 5th. He had 6 podiums, including a feature race win. So, he increased his position in the standings, and he also showed really strong consistency throughout the season, probably one of the most consistent drivers. He never really had a run where he was struggling for a long period of time. So I think, his consistency is a really good sign, and the way he's improved is also a good sign for this year. I think there's kind of a different situation with Maini. He came out of the gate strong. He got that first pole position, but then was obviously disqualified for a technical infringement, which is pretty unfortunate. He still got some good results at the beginning of the season, but then he kind of struggled a bit towards the end of the season. He went the last 5 rounds without any points. So I think that's kind of something that he'll have to get off his back quickly, or there's the worry that it'll kind of become a spiral where he's not scoring and not scoring and not scoring. So I think if he can turn it around at the beginning of the season and score right away, that's a good sign for him. Otherwise, I'd be pretty worried. They're also both, like you mentioned, drivers in F1 junior programs. They are in some of the more kind of unfortunate programs to be in, if that's about promoting drivers, if that's, I guess, how I'd say it, because, Alpine hasn't had a great track record of promoting their own drivers, although Jack Doohan finally made it. And obviously Felipe Drugovich has been waiting for a long time to get his chance in the Aston Martin seat, and it still doesn't look any closer. So I think, for Maini and Crawford, there's kind of a weight ahead of them, even if they do prove themselves in this title. And even regarding that, we've seen that, a lot of F1 teams aren't particularly impressed by victories that happen in the third year of an F2 career. So I think these drivers definitely need to prove themselves this year. I think their shots at F1 are over if they don't win the championship. That's my opinion. And I think Crawford has a strong chance to do that. But, who knows the position that'll put him in at Aston Martin. So we'll see. I think, with this experience, there's the potential for this team to get higher from 6th, but there's also a lot of talented rookies. So we'll see if they can raise their championship position.
Very interesting points raised by Kalle there. Possible last chance saloons for both, and I definitely have to say I agree with that. So we could see a really interesting head-to-head here. And as Kalle said, Kush Maini has to come out the gates flying, doesn't he? And as for Jak Crawford, this for him, he's going to be coming in the favourite. Will that for him put some pressure on his shoulders, and will he be able to contain with that? Well, that's the thoughts of myself and Kalle on a very experienced, the most experienced, as she said, DAMS Lucas Oil team. What do you think in the comments below?